New developments are taking place in the Avdiivka region. With the long-standing clashes in this region, many Russian soldiers have lost their lives. With the aggressive defense and counterattack operations of the Ukrainian army in the region, a large number of Russian equipment was destroyed. The fighting here has been going on for a very long time, and the Avdiivka region has now become a graveyard of equipment. The Russians have lost a large number of heavy and light armored vehicles. For the Russian army, which has been conducting operations north and south of Avdiivka, this operation has become a disaster. Despite the pause in the advance, in the eyes of the Russian commanders, the northern flank remains the most likely flank, even though the notorious chemical plant area has indeed become the Russian troops' worst nightmare. In the last few days, Russian offensives in this area have become disjointed. Ukrainian fighters from the 47th Mechanized Brigade report that attacks are being carried out without the aid of tanks or armored vehicles, that assault units are smaller and attacks less coordinated. Each unit seems to be trying to achieve a different objective. The Ukrainian army forced the Russians to divide with its operations in and around Avdiivka. Recently emerging battle footage shows Russian troops secretly placing small groups of infantry at strategic points to offer resistance in Stepove. Ukrainian fighters from the Khorne Group discovered that these groups were sent to support two soldiers who had earlier infiltrated the trenches. However, Russian forces, using octocopters called Baba Yaga, detonated a heavy mine in the trench, killing 6 soldiers. Approaching the Russian-controlled tree line, the Khorne Group detected Russian soldiers in 2 trenches through thermal cameras. While 5 soldiers were completely killed in the first trench, 3 of 6 soldiers were killed and 3 were wounded in the second trench. Throughout the day, fighters from the 47th Mechanized Brigade continued their regular kamikaze drone attacks and spotted 2 Russian soldiers smoking in a trench. The Russians tried to neutralize the drone, but the drone managed to hit the target. The Stepove region is now in a more stable situation. According to some analysts, this reduction is due to a temporary lack of forces, while others attribute it to the recent attacks on logistical centers in and around Donetsk. Given the information that 2 days ago the Russians sent between 150 and 300 troops to Krasnohorivka, it is thought that the lack of troops is not the main reason, and that the HIMARS and Storm Shadow attacks have effectively weakened Russian offensive capabilities, at least in the short term. The second deadliest attack in this area took place at the strong point between Stepove and the chemical plant. This area can be described as an area surrounded by concrete walls. As in Stepove, Russian forces appear to be constantly sending new offensive units to control this strategic area. Ukrainian fighters of the 110th Brigade appear to be trying to persuade the Russians to send more troops by retaining control of this area. Footage of the fighting shows that the Russians are sending a new group every day to take control of the positions between the walls. Some Russians are destroyed on the road by the mortar fire, while the survivors are hunted by drones within 2 days. Recently, Ukrainian fighters from the 110th Mechanized Brigade used a drone to fly over the 100-meter-long position to show Russian casualties. The footage shows that many Russian soldiers were killed as they tried to defend the position, in the hope that reinforcements would arrive and expand it. A total of 33 soldiers are seen in the footage, but it is unclear how many soldiers were gathered when the Russians were able to temporarily advance along the tree line and clear their positions. Overall, Ukrainian fighters managed to stabilize the front line, and each unit developed effective tactics to hold the defense in a sustainable manner. For example, the fighters of the 110th Mechanized Brigade identified a bottleneck where they had to develop the Russian offensive and turned it into a killing zone. The fighters of the 47th Mechanized Brigade take advantage of the area, which is rich in defensive positions, to exhaust the Russian forces and then launch counterattacks. The fighters defending the chemical plant are setting up machine gun positions in huge buildings and controlling every inch of Russian positions in the wooded lines in the front of the plant. Along with these developments, intense clashes in the direction of Tavria continue. Last day, Ukrainian soldiers destroyed more than 400 Russian soldiers in the direction of Tavria. According to the Joint Press Center of the Tavria Defense Forces, the Ukrainian armed forces also destroyed 25 pieces of enemy military equipment. In the area of responsibility of the troops of the Tavria Operational Strategic Group in the Avdiivka direction, Ukrainian defenders continue to stop the enemy trying to encircle Avdiivka. Ukrainian soldiers are steadfastly holding the line and inflicting serious losses on the Russians. Thus, 26 Russian attacks east of Novobakhmutivka, Stepove and Avdiivka were repulsed, as well as 9 attacks south of Severna, Pervomaysk and Nebelska in the Donetsk region. In the Marinka direction, the armed forces of Ukraine continue to stop the enemy in the Krasnohorivka, Marinka and Novomykolaivka areas in the Donetsk region, where they repelled 13 Russian attacks. At the same time, the Ukrainian defense forces reported that they repelled 12 Russian attacks west of Novopokrovka and Robotina in the Zaporizhia region. The Russians lost 25 pieces of Russian military equipment in the direction of Tavria in the past day: 4 tanks, 13 armored personnel carriers, 2 artillery systems, 2 anti-tank grenade launchers, 4 vehicles. In addition, 10 more Russian equipment was damaged. The operations carried out by the Ukrainian army are pushing the Russians hard on the front line. The number of soldiers lost by the Russians continues to increase in the operations that have been going on since October in the Avdiivka region. The Russians were defeated in Avdiivka as they were in Bakhmut. The active defense strategy implemented by the Ukrainian army was successful in Avdiivka is in Bakhmut. However, Ukraine accelerated its mobilization plans and organization. Zelensky announced that new soldiers will join the army with his statements. Zelensky also announced that women will not be recruited into the army. During a press conference summarizing 2023, President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed positive views on increasing drone production in Ukraine and stressed the importance of developing a specific management structure for this purpose. He also noted that in 2024, Ukrainian production would release 1 million drones. We will tackle logistics. Our troops will receive domestically produced drones in brigades. Regarding production, we will manufacture 1 million drones next year, he said. Ukraine's Minister of Strategic Industries, Alexander Kamyshin, has reported that in December of the current year, Ukraine is producing over 50,000 FPV drones, with plans for medium and long-range drones. The Ukrainian army has been very effective with drones in the war. The Ukrainian army, which destroyed a large number of Russian tanks and Russian soldiers with unmanned aerial vehicles, also carried out successful offensive operations on Russian territory. The number of tanks destroyed by the Ukrainian army with UAV operations and other offensive operations reached 5,840. However, while the Russian army lost 890 soldiers the other day, the total number of soldiers lost since the war started has exceeded 350,000. The Russians lost almost 500,000 soldiers. If the Russians lose 150,000 more soldiers, the number of military personnel they lose will be exactly 500,000. This is an incredible number. While the Russian army continues to fail in its frontline operations, Ukraine's defense and offensive operations continue. What do you think about the developments in the Avdiivka region and Zelensky's statements? You can share your thoughts with us by commenting.